Have you ever stopped to think about the fans behind a band? What is it about the music that keeps fans coming back for more? Or is there more? My name is Renae Lipsmeyer, and I am the host of this podcast, The Space Between Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the fans of the Dave Matthews Band. Each week, a fellow DMB fan joins the show to discuss their journey with the band. Welcome to the Space Between Podcast. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Space Between Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the fans of the Dave Matthews Band. If this is your first time to listen to the Space Between, first, welcome, but thank you so much for joining in. If you're not super familiar with the Dave Matthews Band, just know that this is a band that's been putting out music and performing live for over 30 years. So of course, with that time span, they have picked up fans all over the globe and of every age. So every episode, I invite a Dave Matthews Band fan to come on and tell their journey with this band that we love so much, the Dave Matthews Band. So of course, I have two guests, not one, but two guests on the show today, which is so exciting. I'm always so excited to have different journeys on the show. So today we have two. I'm going to let you guys first introduce who you are, where you are in the world, and then tell me how in the world did you meet this band, the Dave Matthews Band?
I am Kelly Cone, currently in Jacksonville, Florida, and I have I've been a fan since 92 when I first stumbled upon them.
Wow.
Inadvertently in Virginia at Trax, of all places.
Wow.
Was snuck in by my cousin with her fake ID, and really was more worried about getting caught being in a bar underage than I was about the band that was on stage. And so I really count my first show as Summerfest the next summer in Milwaukee, when I saw them on the stage, and I was like, wait, that's that band from Charlottesville. And I've been hooked ever since. So
Dang, Trax. You know, I don't think anybody's been on the show that said that their first show was at Trax. Wow. That's amazing.
Well, now you're about to hear two people. So almost the exact same situation. The summer before my senior year in high school, I had a friend who spent summers in my hometown, and he had a cassette tape with him, and he drove. He was a year older than me, so he had a car, and we drove around in his car listening to this cassette tape. He went to a small college in Virginia, and he was like, they play at bars and fraternities all the time. We should go. And it was summertime, so I told my parents that we were going camping. And then I tried to grow like facial hair so that I could sneak into a bar. And in hindsight, for whatever reason, I think back then we all looked a little older than kids do now. Maybe that's just in my mind. I feel like 18-year-olds when I was in high school, like some of them had beards and like full mustaches, and like kids nowadays don't seem to have that. No. But yeah, so we went down, and same deal, snuck in. They literally like didn't even like look at me sideways. It's just like, come in. Like I was like weird and awkward. And then and then I actually didn't see them again live, full band, until 1996. But I, obviously continued to listen, and during that time, two full albums came out before I saw them live again. Under the Table and Dreaming came out, and then Crash came out. And I finally got to see him live in 96, and then I pretty much spent the next decade following them around.
I think we missed one really important thing. Like, who in the hell are you? For those that are listening, who are you?
Yeah. My name is Aaron Holley, and I currently am in Jacksonville, Florida as well.
I feel like that's important information, just for those of you that might not be watching this on YouTube. And that's something that you guys can do if you're listening to this and you want to watch it. You can definitely check it out on the Space Between podcast on YouTube. So Aaron Holley, Kelly Cone, thank you so much for being part of the show. I've known you guys for a little bit, and it's funny because I was thinking back earlier, like, when did I first meet Aaron? And I kept thinking, okay, this is a dude that I saw at a lot of different shows, but I never had a long conversation with you. It was always kind of short things. And then it became kind of a joke for me to walk up to you and be like, hey, I've never seen you before. Hey, I've never met you before. And I just say that every time. And then at one point, I think we finally were just like, okay, who are you? Like, what, what, I'm going to keep seeing you. I'm going to acknowledge you. Like, I need to figure out who you are. And so, you've kind of been around as long as, well, way longer than I have been, but you're a constant, well, both of you are constant faces that fans that travel with this band. You're known to be at several shows. So I think that this is something that's kind of turned into more than you could have ever imagined when you were going to these first shows, getting snuck into bars. Who would have ever dreamed that you guys would be still doing this for so long? And now, of course, Aaron having children and exposing them to that music. And it's just been such a gosh, an evolution of this band for you guys. So you both saw them very early, in the band's career. And so you've seen so much change and even just in the sound of what the band sounds like. So, you'd mentioned you went to a show, and then, of course, after that show, there were several albums that were released after your first time. And so going into your second concert, did you have a different kind of appreciation for the music?
I mean, when I saw them the second time, I guess I wasn't. I mean, I knew who they were, but I didn't put the two together until I was actually at the show. And then after that, like I said, I just was hooked. And I didn't really travel until the last couple of years. Like I'd say the last 5 or 6 years was when I started really traveling. So I really went wherever was close. So it was a couple, shows a year here and there, whatever was around Chicago, Alpine. We did St. Louis a couple times, things like that. So my appreciation for the band really, in all honesty, started at Before These Crowded Streets because that's my favorite album.
Oh, yeah.
So that's around when I really started to kind of gain emphasis, really started to get interest in traveling to see the band. And getting to know other fans too, and Facebook had a big influence on that. COVID had a big influence on it. There's a couple key people that I met through, social media that I was like, I want to be like them. I want to go to different shows. I want to go to different states. I want to be all over the place and have different experiences. And, then of course I met this guy.
So if someone's listening to this and they're like, what is a common theme throughout the show is traveling to see the band. If someone's listening to this and they're unfamiliar with the band and the music, and of course, just the culture of fans around the band, what are some things that you have been exposed to, or what are some perks of traveling to see them?
Hello, everybody. This is Dave Rich from the Eddie Casino Band out in Las Vegas. We're really excited to get this journey going, celebrating our music, our original music, on all platforms. We just released our first single over Labor Day weekend called Eddie Casino. If you're looking for new music, look out for our next single coming out to Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Apple Music. These guys in the band are really excited to get started playing music for you all. If you like Tom Petty, Zach Brown, Jason Mraz, Dave Matthews Band, Rob Thomas, Jimmy Buffett, Pink Floyd, Stapleton, Bare Naked Ladies, Goose, Billy Strings, Sting and the Police, a ton of influences that we bring to the table. Hope you enjoy our music and look forward to seeing you soon live on stage.
Well, I mean, obviously, it used to just be like the different venues, at least for me. Like when I was in my early 20s and traveling to see them, like going to Shoreline. Like I lived a lot in Colorado. I spent a lot of time there. My family lived there, and so for me, a lot of the shows were like, we used to go to Bonner Springs, Kansas a lot. Like they would always do Bonner Springs as their last stop before they would go to the Gorge, and we would see those shows a lot. They did a lot of Colorado shows. I've seen them at Red Rocks 3 different times.
God.
But going to California, seeing them like Chula Vista. I saw them at Irvine before the current Irvine, place was, and it was like 5 Points. Shoreline, some of the Northern California stops. into Idaho, Montana, stuff like that. Like just little venues. Like I always thought that was cool. Now in like later years, to me, I mean, we go just to see our friends. I mean, the music is awesome, right? Like it's great and the concerts are great, and I always get like excited like a playoff game as I'm walking into the venue before the show starts. Like it's awesome. But the
Yeah.
lead up to it is planning with all my friends and seeing people and going to the night zero meetups and like hugging people that you've known for now 30 years. I've known some of these people. Like we're gonna be with people in Tampa that I've been friends with for 20 years going to shows with.
That's
Like
wild.
you can't replace that with anything. There's not a job that you like. Even people that you've worked with for 15 years, you don't like them nearly as much as you like people that that you see this band
Yes.
with. And so, for me, it's we clichéingly always say it's the soundtrack to our lives, but like we could post something and any one of us could find the perfect Dave Matthews song for any single episode, for any circumstance, for anything that happens in our lives. Like there's a lyric for that, there's a song for that. So for me now
100%.
it's more always about the people than it is, the band and the music is always at the heart of everything we do, but the people now make it so that it makes it can't miss. They used to say like what's like can't miss television,
Yeah,
like never miss a Sunday show, never miss a Saturday, never miss a Tuesday. Like you can't miss
exactly.
shows, you can't sleep on anything. And the one time that you're like, what, I'm not going to go to Milwaukee because it's Summerfest and I hate it. They're going to play a set list that's going to melt your face off, and you're going to be so pissed that you didn't go. Like that's how it
Exactly.
is.
It is. It's a chase
Perfect
for sure. It's
example
a
is
hook.
that Des Moines show in 2019, I think it was. Perfect example.
People all still talk about it. Like
it's crazy. It was a Tuesday night, random Tuesday night in the middle of the summer when people. I think it was right around 4th of July. I can't remember, but I remember I couldn't go for whatever reason. And then I'm watching the set list go on the DMV hub, and I'm just like, what?
Right.
Like
Right.
progressively, my eyes are getting bigger, and I'm getting madder that I missed it. When it's just literally like an hour drive away. But
Oh,
I
yeah,
guess
that
you can't do that.
we can't because I know that none of us, I mean, I know y'all well enough to be like, none of us are getting paid to do this, right? Like it is something we do have to work for, right? It's something that we spend not only our money, but our time. And that gets really hard, especially tricky with families, but then also, work schedule. And I think, with COVID, that was, when I definitely try to pull positives of it out of everything. And one of the positives that came from COVID was that it gives the flexibility and so many people scheduled to be able to work virtually. And so you can travel with that. And so, it's definitely become a little bit easier, but it's not something that just everyone can do. But, can you tell us about some ways that, like, how did you get connected into the group? And so if someone's listening into this and you're like, I hear you, I want that, like, how do I get connected the way you guys did? Any tips for people that might be listening?
I mean, for me personally, I had met Suzanne Zwirly, and she was kind of a little bit of a catalyst for me into the group. And like I had mentioned earlier, I saw how, a lot of people kind of went to all these different shows and had all these different experiences. And as I was going to more and more shows, I was reaching out and saying, hey, I know that we've kind of been talking on social media, but I'd love to like meet up at the tailgate or at the Night Zero meetup or whatever it was, and actually meet you face to face and hear some of your experiences and, maybe tag along if you don't mind or whatever it was. And that's kind of how I got introduced to a lot of the people that are now in kind of like our circle, if you want to call it that. Although like there's so many more people now that I've met that are so amazing, like through them and just through like being places, talking to people and hearing their stories too. And then of course like introducing your life to other people, you're sharing your experiences too, which is now catapulting them to want to do more, which is really pretty cool.
Yeah. Aaron, what are some ways that you really got plugged in?
So I used to have a really good, like, solid network of friends that we all traveled to shows together. And then, like, 06, 07, everyone sort of started branching off and, like, getting married and having kids and stuff. And that really wasn't where I was at in life. I just wanted to keep like hanging out and seeing the band and traveling and stuff. But the band got to this point in like '06, '07 where honestly I thought they were going to be done. Like I've had this
Really?
conversation with a couple friends. Yeah, I thought it was almost over. Like there were some issues in the band. They weren't having fun. You knew it. You could just see it on stage. No one ever likes to say it out loud, but Boyd was struggling. Like he was full on in the throes of addiction, essentially. Like he was
Mm.
struggling on stage. You could see it happening. He would drop bow sticks and like it just wasn't. And the rest of the guys looked just kind of fed up and over it. So I actually stopped going to shows in like '07, and I didn't go
Mm.
for 10 years, like almost 11
Wow.
years.
Wow.
And then they came to Jacksonville in 19, and I went to some of the meetups and I met Alex. Well, I had been talking to Alex Sohani, and so like we had made plans to meet up at a meetup, and then it didn't happen. Um, and then I went to Tampa and met some more people that year, and then COVID hit. And I think like
Mm-hmm.
everybody else, you got really close with people on the internet during COVID. Like I wasn't as plugged in to the scene during COVID because I was still working. I work in hotels,
Yeah.
so I was doing essential personnel, probably like you were, and
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and so I didn't have a ton of like extra time where I was just sitting around like doing the
Yeah.
drive-ins and all that. I was working, and it was like business as usual.
Right.
But I got really close with a lot of people who didn't have a lot going on. And so in the evenings, because there was no social life, I found myself chatting with people and becoming closer with folks, and made sure that when they announced they were coming back, Raleigh 21, that I made sure that I was there and on the rail. And it's probably my favorite show of all time. I met and hugged so many people that I've been talking to for like a year.
Mm-hmm.
Did Raleigh. It was an incredible set list, just the set of a lifetime.
Yeah.
And then went to Charlotte the next night, and then I was on my way to Alpharetta to do the third leg, and I got COVID,
Oh
and
no.
so I went home and I was really sick for like 3 weeks, like really sick, and
Wow.
it ruined the rest of my summer. I didn't get to go to another show all summer, and I think that's probably why I've been to so many shows. I think I did 20, then 24 in the last couple of years. I think we've probably done, I've probably done almost 60 shows combined in the last like 2.5 years. And I think one of the reasons for that is because, one, I didn't see the band forever. Two, then I got sick and I missed a whole summer. And I just don't, look, the window is short, right? The band only can go for so long, right? Maybe it's 5 more years, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
do I want to sit on the shelf and waste those 5 years like not going to stuff? No. I would rather go and do that and see people and have those experiences. I wouldn't trade not one single show in the last 2.5 years, not for anything.
Exactly. No, I feel the same way. It's just like there's kind of and I don't know the word other than like the urgency behind it because I know that there will be an end, and I know that that end just based on the ages of the band members, right? Like that
Mhm.
yeah, we might have 5 years. We might have more, we might have less. No one knows the future, right? Because we have to account for the things that we can't plan for, like illness or death or those types of things that we just don't know when they're going to happen. And so hopefully we have many more years ahead. But I think that most of the time I'm hearing people say, we just don't know. We don't know. This might be the last time. And so, people are, I think, into it more than ever because of that. I think just in general, there are not a lot of bands in history that have had the longevity that this band has had. And when I talk about longevity, I mean, they have not only been putting music out, but they've been touring with the exception of just like
Mhm.
2 years, minimal time. And so, it's,
Right.
they have been killing it. And so, I think that this leads to a couple of things. It leads to, I know that you guys have been traveling a lot. It's barely 2024. We're just in May as we're recording this right now, and you guys have been on the road. But before we talk about that, I want to talk about how in the world did you guys meet? If you're not watching this on YouTube, of course, Aaron and Kelly are in the same room. They're sharing a home now. So how in the world did this meet, and how long? Like how did this all happen?
I slid into her DMs.
Yeah, you did.
I don't know what to tell you.
And Renae, I don't think you know this, or maybe I'm not sure if I told you this in Mexico or not, but when he slid into my DMs, and I kind of just looked through his Facebook to see, and I was like, we have 100 friends in common. Why have I not met this person?
Right.
And the very first picture I saw was a picture of you with him on the rail.
And Aiden.
In Aiden. Pearl. I think it was the Raleigh show, but I'm not sure.
I think it was Charleston.
Okay.
I think it was at the meetup in Charleston. And we took a picture together. Yeah. And Becky Carlson was there. I think I met her that night.
And I was like, hey, is this you with my friend Renae? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. So he knew
worlds are colliding.
And I was,
right.
And then we just started talking and, met officially at Alpharetta last year for the face-to-face because I was in Chicago and he was, living here and stuff. And so met for the first time in Alpharetta and we've been together since.
Yeah, we went to Alpharetta together and then Orange Beach, which was a couple days later. And I was going to go to West Palm and decided that it would be more fun to just stay with her and sit on the beach in Florida, Alabama. And so we did. We just spent, 4 or 5 days on the beach getting to know each other and hanging out. And everybody went to West Palm and got the ABI for the first time. And we were all just like, what, I don't, what are you going to do? You can't make them all. But we were pretty happy with the decision we had made to skip it.
What's up, everybody? This is David with the Dave Matthews Tribute Band. We're a nationally touring tribute to DMB, playing shows all over the country and beyond. Our goal is to bring you back to the classic sound that you fell in love with in the 90s and the 2000s, featuring a violin, saxophone, and maybe some keyboards sprinkled in as well. You can find out information about all of our tours and shows by visiting thedmtb.com. You can also check us out on Facebook and Instagram and other socials by searching the Dave Matthews Tribute Band or the DMTB. Hope to see you on the road and enjoy the Space Between podcast.
Yeah, and I mean, Kelly, that just, for him, after hearing just the things that he said, and then to say, I thought it would be more fun to stay with her than to continue with the band. I mean, wow, that right there, that's everything you needed to hear, right? That's a big deal.
And then on top of it, right after Orange Beach was my birthday. So then he flew up a couple of days later to Chicago, and it was going to be a surprise, but with work and stuff, he kind of wanted to make sure I could be off. And then we spent a couple of days up in Chicago. And
yeah, surprises don't work like Hollywood movies like that when you have a job. No. You actually have to tell somebody it's not like a cool meet cute where you show up at the restaurant she's working and pretend to order a bottle of wine. It can't work like that. I have 3 days. I'm gonna need you to not be working. I'll be there.
Yeah.
So
yes.
That's how it goes.
So, I want to jump into your most recent adventures together, and I want to hear how did you guys even plan? Because you're still what I would call a new couple, right? So, how do you jump in? Of course, you guys are both living in Florida now. How do you get to the point where you're like, you know what? Let's go to Europe. Let's jump in. Let's do some shows. Let's make sure everything's where it needs to be. You've got kids, making sure that they're taken care of while you're gone. How did that all get organized? How did you plan? This is what we're going to do, and then I want to jump into your time in Europe.
Yeah, so I think from deciding that we were going to go to shows, I think the first thing we did was decide we were going to go to the Gorge. So we went to the Gorge last year together with a couple other people and rented an RV and the whole thing. Saw you, obviously.
Yeah.
And I think after you spend, 4 or 5 days kind of sort of camping, you kind of have an idea of what, what your threshold is in traveling together.
Oh, yeah.
And then we did, then they announced Europe, right? So it was at that point, we'd been on a couple trips together, and we were having a lot of fun, and Europe just seemed like a dream for both of us that we'd always wanted. And if you don't do it now, you might not get another shot at it. And
Yeah.
so we both just were like, okay, let's see what the Europe dates are. And then when we started looking at the places, like the number one place I think that I'd always dreamed of going was seeing Dave Matthews in Amsterdam, right? Like that was like, for me, that was like that was it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then as you start looking at it, it's like, well, if I'm not going to go over there for a week and only see one show, like I want to go see some more shows. So like, where can I get the most bang for my buck? And it was like Berlin through Italy. That was it. Like there was 4 shows in 5 days and an extra show in Berlin. And we were like, that, we can do that. Then she was like, it's really important to me to like go to Ireland and it's like my home and I love it. And I was like, if you add an extra week, there's a weekend on either side and a weekend in the middle, so it's really only 2 weeks off of work, you
Yeah.
know. So we could probably pull that off, and then it just sort of all went from there.
Yeah, and I will say, when we first started planning, he was, kind of like, let's do a couple shows, and then, as it went, we just ended up doing 8, and I know that sounds crazy to maybe other people listening, but as you know, as fans, like you start looking at the thing, and he's such a great planner and had it all like detailed and everything, and Dublin means a lot to me because my dad's sick. So that was the last trip I went on with my dad, and I really wanted to go there with him since
Oh yeah.
He means so much to me. So Dublin was a big deal for me to just be at that show and to be there, even if it was just in the country with Aaron. So
Yeah.
that was kind of how we decided to continue on, and then we flew home from Dublin, although I think both of us kind of were like, we could keep going. If we had more vacation time and we had pet sitters for longer,
Yeah,
It's always
yeah.
time and money. Time and money. Those are the two things, right? It's like hard to get,
Exactly.
One thing I would
So
say is like, you mentioned earlier about all the different stuff that has happened as a result of this band. And one of the things that I would say is like, just in the social media, think about from the last month that you've seen, right? Look at how many people traveled abroad. People that would never have gone to Europe otherwise, but they went to see a band. Then what I saw was people took detours from the band to go spend a week seeing other stuff. They're like, well, we're over here. Let's go do this. I saw Cheryl Brock and her husband went somewhere. Jess Filler went to Africa after she was done. Like Suzanne and her friends all did like Portofino and I guess I just feel like everyone did it because of the band, but like if there was no band, the amount of travel that we saw from the community would not have been nearly as high as it was, and all the little extracurricular travel that happened as a result of the shows being there. I just think it's fantastic. I just think like because of the band, people made memories and got culture on things that they would not have seen before.
right.
And that makes me excited. And I saw people every stop we were. I liked the Americans I saw a little bit more than I had liked them when I saw them in the States, just because I felt like they made the trip. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like somebody that I might have marginally liked when I saw them at a show in the States, and I was like, you know what? I kind of dig that you're here. This is fun.
Your level of dedication.
Just kind of there's a level of respect. Just like I got you, I see you.
The planning too. I think that at least I thought we wouldn't have a super amount of time to do touristy things, if you want to call it that. Just being with the nature of the schedule, because there were we flew into Berlin and we had a little bit of a kerfuffle getting to Berlin, so that cost us a day. But like you get there and then you don't think you're going to have as much time as you do. And then it turns out that we had so much time and we got to see so many great things, so many more things than I would have ever dreamed I would see. I mean, we saw Colosseum. Prague was amazing. We spent a lot of time with friends that like we had known, like he maybe knew a little bit better than I did, but now we're such great friends now. And it's just, it's just amazing to see what comes out of it when you like least expect it, and you just don't plan. You know, you don't plan. You don't have a plan. You just know you're going to get from A to B, and in between A and B, all of this magic happens.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it just didn't really think it would or expect it to. So that was a highlight for me.
Yeah, and on top of all that, we got to see shows, which is like literally like a bonus. And they were all. I mean, there was one or two little sleepy shows in there that honestly we probably needed at that time because we were burning the candle at both ends. But the shows were just like they were all different, and they were all each venue was kind of unique and special in its own way. And London and Dublin had their own special kind of magic. Royal Albert Hall was something completely different.
And what I will say too,
I know.
Despite Aaron and I, obviously we both have had journeys with the band, and just in the last year or so, we've been seeing the band together. But we were able, even through all of our shows separate, to hit our 100th show together in Berlin.
Ooh, tell us about that. Which venue was it?
It was in Berlin, and we were rail. We were lucky we waited, and we, stood in line and early in the morning with a bunch of friends, and we did the whole Sharpie thing, and we were rail for our 100th show in Berlin. And it was really a special, culmination of all of his shows previous to knowing me and all of my shows previous to knowing him, and just a rejuvenation too. Like, look at where we are. I know, at least for me, my life has 1,000% changed in the last year. And standing there on the rail, and they opened with Gray Street, and I just about lost it. It took everything I had to keep it in, and not like be the weepy one on the rail in front of Dave. Like
song one, you're just like, no.
Right. And then of course he closed the 2-step, so it was just like
That's crazy. That's crazy. I was, I listened to, and if you're listening to this and you're not familiar with, again, a lot of things that the Dave Matthews Band has, they have their own XM channel, which is XM channel 30. And so one of the perks of having that is they do a lot of, during the summer, they'll do like live Friday nights wherever they're playing, they'll kind of cast that onto the XM. So it gives you another way to listen to the show without necessarily being there. And one of the songs one of the, I guess venues that they've been playing is the Berlin show. And so I've heard it. Of course, I wasn't there, but I've heard it. And it was, y'all, magical. From just a girl that was sitting here in the States listening to it. I can't imagine like physically being there, because of course we know that is just a different level, is to be there and watch them and all the things that happen while you're there. But just listening to it from home, magic. So I can't imagine just like the goosebumps you must have had that whole show.
It was pretty great.
So crazy. And then just like the history in I've never been overseas. I don't know if you guys have, but like when I think you sent like me a Snapchat of outside of your hotel window, and there lies the Berlin Wall, right? Or the remains of what that was. And so, not only are you getting to see your favorite band and be with all these favorite people, but like you said, you're getting to see with your eyes things that we've only learned about in our history books, and so what are some things that stuck out to you, whether it be like the venue history or just things like the Berlin Wall that you got to see in your travels? Did anything stick out to either one of you?
Yeah, I think day one in Germany, when we started to explore there's a memorial for all the Jews lost, during the whole Nazi regime. And it's like they're square columns, and there's like 1,000 of them, and they're just rows after row and just in this huge square, and they're taller than you, they're taller than us, and it like right away, it hits you right away, like, hey, this isn't one of those places where we're going to be cheesing, taking selfies. Like, we have to be a little bit more like respectful of the spot that we're in. So that one, immediately stood out for me. And then for me, it was Rome. Just to see the ruins that were unearthed under what they said was like 40 meters of dirt. And the Romans used to just, they would, instead of tearing stuff down, they would just dump dirt on it and then build over the top of it. So when somebody finally realized all these things were underneath, they excavated and they tore all this dirt down, and now you can see the layers of like all these different ruins that lie underneath, and it's stunning. Like the Coliseum tour is stunning. Like the whole day, I mean, it's like a 3 hour tour, and I just was in stunned silence most of the time. Like it's crazy.
What time frame? And I know, we've learned about history, but it's been 1 million years since I've learned. So like, what is the time frame that was originally built? Do you remember?
So they built the Coliseum in 8 years, from like 745 to 753.
Holy shit. So not even in the thousands, like before the thousands even started. Like it's been there forever.
Yeah. And it took them 8 years with no engines or machines or like anything. They had like these wheels, and they had one dude on each thing of the wheel, and they would just turn it to lift stuff. Like, I mean, I can't even, like, yeah, it's like something that and like they did it in 8 years. They built this whole Coliseum that's still standing. Like, yeah, it's wild.
Unbelievable. And just like the feeling that you guys must have had, just, that there's a feeling that comes along with standing there, knowing like the history that's before you and the people that have, been there before you. Just an incredible feeling. Incredible. Anything else stick out for you, Kelly? Any special moments that were just like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm seeing this before my eyes?
Definitely. I mean, the Berlin Wall was really moving for me. Definitely. I just remember watching it come down on TV, and that whole how people were separated by that wall. I don't know. I could never imagine something like that separating him and I. Like, and there's zero chance that you can see that person, or if you try to see them, they're going to kill you, literally.
And Berlin has a lot of like reminders of World War II everywhere. Checkpoint Charlie is there, where you lived in a certain area of town, and if you left, you had to go through Checkpoint Charlie, and it said like, hey, you are now leaving the American part of town. You're heading to the German Russian part of, like, it was wild. Like, so yeah, I think we were just in a lot of places where they lived a life growing up that we don't even have to fathom.
Right. And when we were in Milan, it was when we stayed in the Airbnb. We kind of stayed in this it was a neighborhood of the working class people of Italy, really. And it was probably 25, 30 minutes outside of Rome, right?
Yeah, Rome, yep.
It was Rome, I'm sorry, it wasn't Milan, it was Rome. And we went to this little pizza place for dinner with Titus and Jill, and one of the patrons in the restaurant actually said to Aaron, like, why are you, like, how did you get here? Like, and we were like, what do you mean? We walked here, like, and they were like, no, we haven't heard English in this part of, like, the way that you're speaking it. We haven't heard anyone talking.
They said we haven't heard American.
Yeah.
In a long time.
Right.
They were like, you're a long way from city center. And it made us feel like, okay, so like we were in a part of, like, it was an apartment complex that we stayed in Airbnb.
Yeah.
And it made us feel like, okay, so this is like, it was right across the street from elementary school. We just watched people take their kids to school every morning, and we walked to the pizza place, and like
walked to the coffee shop in the morning. It was like we could see what Italian life was kind of like, everyday life for the people that live there and such, and just kind of experiencing how they live as well, kind of in this apartment, condo, if you want to call it, building within the middle, had this area that was open, open to the sky. So the rain would come in, people would hang their laundry, and it really was kind of like, the singing from the windows.
It really was.
Like what Dave
described.
And even when we stayed in, it was Milan, when we stayed in the Airbnb with Silcox and Sterna and all them, and there actually was a window that opened up into a courtyard, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what, like, he was describing over COVID, and just to see kind of those things was, pretty special.
Definitely.
Yeah. I've always heard that, like, if you can safely, and if you know where to go, it's often that you find like the best food, and if you kind of get off the touristy route, and so let's talk about food just briefly. Like, obviously, I mean, I think of Italy and I'm like, oh my God, I want like everything that they make. Like, was it more than what you expected?
Yes.
Definitely. Yes.
Any favorites?
Well, I'll let him tell his funny stories, but like my favorite was definitely there was like a little tiny boutique restaurant, if you want to call it that, outside of the Coliseum that we ate the first day, and they had the best ravioli ever.
Fresh pasta, like I mean, carbonara. We had a lot of carbonara with just bacon and Alfredo creaminess, you know.
Yeah.
But one night in Milan, we stayed in an Airbnb, and we that was one of the nights that we were definitely overserved. Everybody in our group was hammered, and we went to back to our Airbnb, and like 20 steps down was like a little like not even a restaurant, like a sandwich shop.
Mhm.
They were still serving sandwiches. It was like 1 a.m. So we asked them, like, what do you got? What's your local sandwich? And he's like, ooh, lambradotto is what he called it, lambradotto. And I was like, bring it, give it to me. So
Yeah.
he gives us all the lambradotto sandwiches, and we all start. It's like bread. It's like the bread's a little greasy, and it was like thin sliced, almost like prosciutto, but like undercooked roast beef kind of. You know what I mean?
Huh.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So it was like a weird kind of not great, but not terrible. And you've had a few, so you're just like, this is bread and meat. This is great, right?
Yeah.
We all ate it. And the next morning, Jill in our group was like, so just so you guys all know that sandwich that we ate last night was pig intestines.
Oh!
Yeah.
Oh
And
my
she was like, he
God.
told me at the time, she's like, the guy started to tell me, and I told him, I don't need to know that right now. I'll just continue eating my sandwich. So she didn't say anything. So we all just like ate it like happy as, clams. And then the next day we were all just like, oh no, that was a terrible,
It's
terrible
coming
meal.
up. It's coming up.
Yeah. Yeah. But other than that, we ate and funny enough, we ate a lot of, in Germany, we ate Indian food.
Mm-hmm.
Like Indian food is so big in Germany.
Really?
And
Currywurst and like a lot of curry foods. Yeah, huge.
right. In Dublin too. Dublin, their predominant spice is curry, which I didn't know. I mean, I've been there with my dad in '04, but we did kind of a tour, where they take you to touristy restaurants, and there's not much culture and things like that, as far as food goes.
Yeah.
But Dublin definitely had the curry, more of the curry side.
Dublin had a lot of really good food. I'm stunned.
Yeah.
I actually told her before we left, I'm like, I'm not looking forward to Dublin in England. The food's terrible and the weather's shitty, and it turned out to be like a little cold and rainy, but the food was the best. We asked our cab driver from the airport in Dublin, like, what do you guys eat? And this is
Like, what are the
typical
locals?
stupid American stuff.
Yeah.
We were asking him like, so does anybody here speak Gaelic? And he laughed and he was like, first of all, we call it Irish. That's what we speak.
Oh, okay.
It's Irish. And I was like, okay, didn't know that. Thank you for that. And he's like, no, we have to learn it in school, but nobody remembers it. He's like, there's one phrase in Ireland that everybody remembers, and it's, may I please go to the bathroom? And he said it in Gaelic or Irish, and he's like, it's the only phrase I remember because it's the one phrase that everybody has to learn in order to be able to go to the bathroom. And he's like, well, no, we don't eat bangers and mash. We don't eat fish and we don't eat all of that. He's like, that's what the old people eat. He's like, we eat. He told us there was a thing called a chicken fillet sandwich. And so we were like, all right. Fillet. And so not fillet, chicken fillet. And so we went and found what it was. And it turns out it's literally like exactly like a chicken tender sub from Publix. It's literally like a chicken, like a breaded chicken that they chop up. And they just put it on a baguette with like whatever lettuce, onions, mayonnaise, like whatever you want.
Yeah.
So that was one of my stupid American things. Yeah. And then in Italy, they do not make spaghetti and meatballs. And I didn't know that.
Or chicken parm.
Or chicken parm.
Like across the board? Like not.
Listen, I asked every place we ate in Italy and we were in Milan, Florence, and Rome for 3 days. I asked every place we went to, like, hey, do you have spaghetti and meatballs? They all like laughed and they're like,
so is that an American thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
We found one place that like made it for me, and the meatballs were terrible. Like they were
What was it called?
Polpetto.
Yeah.
That's what they're called, polpetto. Spaghetti and polpetto.
Wow. I mean, I don't think that's. I mean, I don't think, maybe I'm wrong, but like I would have never thought that spaghetti was an American dish, because we are, or at least I grew up with just kind of knowing that Italian food was like Italian food, and like spaghetti and meatballs was Italian, and that's was my belief. So I would have felt the same way.
definitely Italian, and they use a meat sauce, but the meatballs part of it, straight
The
American.
meatballs part. Okay, so it's the meatball part that's American. Well,
Mm-hmm.
maybe more understandable, but they go hand in hand here in the States. It's like one, you got the other, like they go together. But they're good, right? Like it's a good thing. I love a good meatball, but they are not all created equal. So you did not have good ones in Italy,
No,
which makes sense now since
mind blowing, honestly.
it's not Italian. So guys, hey, you guys are seasoned Dave Matthews Band fans. You've been to over 100 shows. So what is your count now with Europe as in tied in?
107.
107.
107. I mean, that's a pretty amazing number. But for those of you that may be listening and go, wow, I've been to one show. I guess I'm not a big fan. No, that is not how a fanship
not
is
true at all.
measured. It's not measured that way. I mean,
Right.
I think just in life, in general, it's everybody's life looks different, and what we're able to do and what we're not able to do, that it doesn't equal your fanhood. So don't think that I pick people to be on the show based on how many shows they've been to. It's not that at all. Not that at all. It's just how much do you love the band, and you guys have just had a really good ride with this band. I mean, and I think that's what makes it fun to listen to is you do have so much experience seeing them live, and that is such a different thing than hearing just recordings, right? The recordings are great, they're awesome, they're wonderful, but seeing them live and in person is completely different than listening to, especially like a studio album. You're not going to hear them come out on stage and play a 3-minute anything. It's just not going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I've never seen that happen. And so since you guys have been to so many shows, I'm going to guess that you guys are going to be pretty good at Dave Matthews Band trivia. So we're going to, I know. It seems like the people that my guests on my shows always are like, oh God, I'm so nervous. But again, it kind of like I told y'all before we started recording, if you don't know the answers to the trivia, this is an opportunity for us to learn more about this band because with the history that this band has and just how long that they've been a band in general, there's just so much. If you break it down, there's so much. We've seen members be asked to leave the band. We've seen death inside the band. We've seen people brought in to do something a little bit different, and so there's just a lot of different aspects when it comes to this band. And so here we go, guys. Take a deep breath. We're gonna do this in a way so that our listeners can play as well. So if you're listening at home, I'm gonna read the question out. We'll give them a little bit of a pause. So if you know the answer right away, just give our listeners a little bit of a space to kind of think about it. Sometimes it's hard to hear, guys. If you got kids in the back of the minivan screaming, turn it up a little bit more. We're gonna get through some Dave Matthews Band trivia. Okay. So here we go. So from which Dave Matthews Band song is this lyric found? So I'm going to give you some lyrics and you're going to tell me what song this came from. It's so hard to do this because I want to sing it and I can't and you don't want me to. But makes it a little bit more difficult. Okay. Sweet girl daddy done beat that girl like he's insane. Brother can't watch him beat that girl down again. I'm going to read it one more time because that is a weird bunch of words put together. But we're going to read it one more time. Sweet girl daddy done beat that girl like he's insane. Brother can't watch him beat that girl down again. What song is that from?
Do we need to pause for the listeners or are we good?
I think we're good.
All right. I know it is.
It's Bayou. Louisiana Bayou.
It is. It's a song called Louisiana Bayou. And
by the way, Renae, I wanted to hear so bad in Europe, and he did not play it at one show just where it was so clear, but that's okay.
Not that we were at.
He didn't play it at all on the tour. Oh. So, because I was watching. There were certain songs I really wanted to hear, and there were certain songs that he played early before we joined the tour that we didn't get to hear, sadly, but I was waiting for him to play Bayou, and he just didn't play it. But that's okay. He's going to play it at Tampa, so we're all good.
Yeah, you never know. It's going to happen in the U.S. Of course, with a name like Louisiana, which is a state in the United States, we know probably get it. But it's funny because everybody likes and you have your own like songs that you don't necessarily want to hear, and I love this song, Louisiana Bayou. I think it's fun. I think it's like fun how they say bye you know, like I just like all of that. It's very, you know, and I don't know if it was wrote or if the way that they put it together musically was like to kind of pay a little respect to Louisiana and the way that they have like the Cajun style music. But if they didn't, they did a real good job of kind of making it seem like they did. So, you know, I don't know the background on that story, but a lot of people don't like it. I love it. I don't think that you can play it enough. I just, you know, I love it. But I feel that way about every song. So, you know, I don't know. But yeah, you guys got it right. So, okay, you got 1 point. So,
Right.
ding, 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 ding. Okay, let's go a little bit different. Let's talk about the history of these band. Who in the world is in the Dave Matthews Band? Of course, we got Dave Matthews, but then we've got all these different people. But let's talk about Dave for just a minute. So, you know, in his career, it's changed. You know, he got married, he had children, and, you know, we may eventually see him become a grandfather. We don't know. You know, his kids or his daughters are in their 20s, and so you just never know what's going to happen in life. But what are the names of Dave's twin daughters?
Grace and Stella.
You got it. Grace and Stella are the names of Dave Matthews Band, or Dave Matthews Band, Dave's twins. It's so funny because, you know, I've talked to a lot of people who will name their children, name their dogs, name anything, Grace and Stella, Grace and Stella, Grace and Stella. So it's funny how the fans tend to dig into like the history of who these guys are, and it just kind of can consume your life if you want it to. So yeah, you got 2 points now. Congratulations. Let's go for 3. Let's go for 3, guys. Yay! Okay. What was the official name of the ice cream that came out in 2002? Ben and Jerry's came out with something that kind of paid tribute to the Dave Matthews Band. Do you know the name of this ice cream?
I do. Do you need a minute?
I do need a minute.
Awesome.
Yes, I know what it is now. Yeah.
Okay.
It's One Sweet World.
It's One Sweet World. Yeah, like WHIRLD. I was told that there was another one that was like some kind of like magic brownies, or maybe, I don't know, they maybe came out with something else. But yeah, I just wish, and if I could like speak to the owner of whoever owns Ben and Jerry's ice cream, like, dude, you could cash in if you put that back out. Like every fan will afford a $5 pint of Ben and Jerry's just to like take a picture of it and go, I got the Dave Matthews Band ice cream. Yeah. I will buy it. I will be your first.
They have it in their freezer that would never eat it. They just like, I still have it. It's in my freezer. It still has the plastic around the top. Like you'd see it being waffled off on like a DMV merchandise.
Yes,
Erica Briz would be. She's gonna waffle off tomorrow. I'm kidding.
It might happen. I don't put anything past anyone. It would be on eBay for sure.
I'm just kidding.
Oh my God, that's great. Okay, so
one thing I did want to bring up.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I want to bring this up because this is obviously a fan discussion. Mm-hmm. And Jimmy thing into Brick House became like a pretty big deal last summer, right? Yeah. With Rashawn singing more and more as the tour went on, right?
Yes.
And sometimes he changed up the lyrics and started singing 56, 56, 56, right? Which everybody loved, right? Like, they got a Christmas thing. Right, okay. So it was in Vienna?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Justin Sterna got an idea to print. It was actually Justin used the front office at the hotel to print it. It was Kelly's idea. Printed up a stack of 56s. We took him into the pit with us in the event that they played Jimmy Thing. And they did. And they went into Brick House. And we all held up 56s. I mean, like, probably 15 to 20 people.
Oh my God.
And Rashawn didn't sing 56, 56.
He changed the lyrics.
Thank you. That what your face just did is how I was like, man, this is why nobody like really like looks out for you, bro. Because when given an opportunity, right, when given, and like the whole band saw it. And Dave turned a card and they all laughed and they were like, they looked at him like ready, poised for him to give it to us. And he just like sang.
What did he say? Oh, he said okay.
Yeah, 24, 36.
Well, hey, I know that Rashawn's mom listens to this podcast, which is a random thing, but like, tell your boy, hey, 56,
Right.
56, 56 is now
That's
the new lyrics when the Dave Matthews Band
That's
sings
right.
this song, right? Okay.
We were giving like a nod to him, like a little recognition.
Right.
And he
Yes.
didn't want it.
So we're gonna come strong with more of those in Tampa, just so you know.
I want one.
And everybody in the pit's gonna have a 56 in the event that they play it. Hopefully they do. If not, they'll go to waste. But
well, did you guys at least get a picture of, or was there a photo captured of you guys?
I have a photo from behind of like probably 10 people holding them up. And I'll see if I can find it and shoot it.
Yes, if you can find it, if you share it with me, if you're watching this on YouTube, then you'll be able to see that picture, which is just another fun thing to do. It's kind of visual story, if you will. So, and I'm going to ask Aaron and Kelly to send more pictures in that kind of, from Italy, from the beginnings, from all the things, whatever you have, and I'll incorporate that into the visual story on YouTube. So be sure to check that out. Well, let's do one more, and I'm gonna try to stick it to you guys because I feel like, let's see. Let me dig into the more difficult questions here. I feel like we need the Jeopardy like ding ding.
I know, right?
Ding ding ding.
Andy can edit that in for you later.
Ding 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 ding. Okay, let's see. Okay, we'll do more lyrics because this one may not be more known. Okay, but I know he did sing this song in Europe, so I don't know if it was one of. I think he did. Okay, name the tune. This one's too easy. Now that I look at it, it's too easy, but we're gonna do it. Okay, you said always and forever. Now I believe you, baby. You said always and forever. Such a long and lonely time.
Yes.
I'm going to read that one more time for anybody that might be listening. Yeah. You said always and forever. Now I believe you, baby. You said always and forever. Such a long and lonely time. What song is that from?
That was from one of the encores from Mexico this year in Some Devil.
Some Devil, yes. So if you're listening to this and you're like, what in the hell are you talking about? I love this story. Because I did not know, coming into the Dave Matthews Band when I did, which was, the 2000s. It was me being in college. It was just that exposure kind of being, outside of my parents' house where maybe the constraints weren't as strong on what I could listen to and what I couldn't. And so, I found the Dave Matthews Band and it was kind of something that just grew with me as I grew up. But the Dave Matthews Band started in 91. Fast forward several years, Dave kind of stepped out and did his own little solo album. And I didn't realize that so many people were so fearful of that album because they thought that the band was breaking up or that was, that Dave was kind of doing his own thing and that was going to stop the whole band. And so I didn't realize that was the story because I didn't find Some Devil until, we knew the future. The band stayed together. And now he's kind of married that work into the Dave Matthews Band. So it's become this beautiful thing. But if you've never listened to that album, definitely one of my favorites, definitely different than everything else. But I think each album kind of holds their own as far as like differences and there's such a progression, but there's also a lot of differences from album to album. Do you guys have, this is a tough one, but do you guys have a favorite album?
Well, mine's definitely Before These Crowded Streets, but I will say my favorite song of life is Two Step. So,
oh yeah. Such a fun one.
Yeah. I think we've had this conversation a few times. It's a toss-up for me between Under the Table and Dreaming and Crash. Just the songs off those two albums are still my favorite songs. Are still the songs that I really love the most. I mean, Away from the World probably has the best collection of songs that I love the most outside of those albums. I mean, Drunken Soldier and like the list goes on, but outside of those, no, those first two albums for me, I mean, even Remember Two Things, which had some like kind of demo studio tracks on it, I think is probably just as good as either one of those first two albums as well.
I mean, so Renae, if you can see in the background, obviously we have the Celebrate We Will, which is a Star Wilson special from years ago. She made that
wow
window pane.
That's
and
amazing.
then that is an actual signed by all original band members before these Credit Streets Gold album.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
Yeah.
that is amazing. It looks like you have a Dave
So
Matthews Band wall in your house. Like, is all of that Dave Matthews Band?
Like every wall in our house. So I will say this: our house looks like people who have been to a combined 214 shows.
I
Like
mean,
that's what
yeah,
it, that's what it looks like. It like there's little Dave things everywhere. Like you can't go. We have a print hanging in each one of our kids in the kids' rooms. They each have
yeah.
a different print in their room, and yeah, there's. It looks like people that
yep, and all of our special shows are hanging.
yeah.
Yeah, as they should be.
Our first Gorge together was last year, so we have I was lucky enough to score off of a trade the Gorge Sparkle Lava Sparkle Fairy. So we got that one framed recently. We have the Fox foil from Charlottesville. The Berlin one hangs for our 100th. For his birthday, I got him the foil, the James James foil from the Raleigh show that he loves so much. So that one's up at our front door, which is kind of telling because it's a bunch of kids on a bridge. So it's like welcome to our house, like all of our friends kind of sitting on the bridge.
It literally like feels like it represents us when we hang out with all of our people,
Right.
like just hanging
Yeah.
out, like listening to
Yeah.
tunes. Like,
I love that. And then there's the
yeah,
memory
we have a
attached
lot
to
of
that
that.
poster of just, going back to shows, that first live show after COVID. I mean, technically it was kind of like we know now it's kind of like in the middle of COVID, but
It
at that
was. It
time we were
really
like,
was.
it's over. No. Surprise, it's back. that was crazy. But yeah, that's literally the poster sitting next to me. And I love that poster so much. Artistically, is it my favorite? No, but it's like that emotional connection to that poster because that was such a concert just for the emotional side of it, being back after being disconnected for so long and not being with our people and not having, just having it. And it meant so much coming back. And even Dave himself at that particular show kind of cried a little bit. So it's just such a beautiful, beautiful show. That'll be one that'll always kind of just be like right there in my brain, like burned in. But then we have the poster too. And it's the perfect representation of what it's like to be inside of this community and to find there's just so much love in this world. And I'm so thankful and lucky and all of the things to have somehow stumbled into this, which I feel like is exactly what I did, is just kind of like chased after what I loved, and it rewarded me, over and over and over, and it just continues to do so. Of course, that's how I met both of you, was through music. And, I just, I think it's it can become trickier to meet people as we work and focus on our kids and do the things that we feel like, okay, I'm just doing the same thing every day, ABC, and then to have this on the side every so often, it's just more than I could have ever dreamed. And I feel like it probably is the same way for you guys, just to sit back and think about all of these years that you have invested in this band, but also invested in yourself. And I think as people listen to this, we're like, sometimes it can be, from a judgmental standpoint of, my God, you could have saved a small country for the amount of money that you've paid, to see this band. But I think ultimately it can be looked at as an investment in yourself, because music is such a known form of therapy. And it has been that for me. It has, we've been able to pick out those songs for any emotion that we're feeling. And the music has saved me a couple of times. And so, that's the story that I hear over and over, are just, stories of fun. We're all having fun, with all of this, but there are moments where the music has just been everything we needed to hear and more. And then you have not only the music, but you have, the fans that come along with it, and how many meaningful relationships that have been built. And you have that automatic connection. There's never like, what do I say to them? You know exactly what you can say to them. Let's talk about the boys, let's talk about this music. And there's 30 years of history no one could ever talk about in an hour or two. And I would be willing to just sit around a fire for hours and hours and hours to talk about this. And so it's good to talk with other people that get it. So I can't thank you enough for being willing to take some time out on a Monday night and talk about Dave with me. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us. It was
I
a
think
pleasure.
too, like just what I'll say is, the band for me represents 30 years of my life of different times too. You know, early days were kind of, you know, you were in your 20s figuring things out. Then, you know, mid, like it was, you know, kind of also still figuring things out. And now towards the tail end, you know, where we are now, so many changes and so many good friends have come into my life. Some have left my life, which has been, you know, has been kind of interesting in that. And then on top of it, to meet now my life partner, which has been, you know, like, you know, the cherry on top of the whole journey. Now I get to almost start the journey over in a weird way, like with him, you know, and it's been an amazing, you know, last year, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think all those things that Kelly said, but I would also say the two things that I think, the two feelings and emotions that I probably get the most at shows are, one, it's that 3 or 4 minutes towards the end of the show when you know there's only like one or two songs left and it starts to kind of hurt a little bit. Like you're already like, fuck, it's almost like, come on, man, really? And then it's the look that we all give each other after, because we go into the shows, and even if you're with people, you're on your own journey for the most part, right? The music starts, you're locked in. There's different things that mean stuff to everybody, right? But then afterwards, the look that everyone gives each other, like, can you believe what we just saw? Like, how about that show? Like, it's like I look forward to that. Like, that's the one. Like after, like as the show, I'm like, cannot wait to see everybody and get everybody's reaction to what they thought of what I just saw and what I felt. And like when you were talking about, you know, people and how many shows somebody's gone to, one show or 5 shows or 100 shows or 500 shows, right? The way that I judge people's fandom, I don't judge their fandom specifically, but like, what does the band mean to you? Like it means something different to everybody. Like if you've been to one show, but the band means something super spiritual to you because it did something for you or saved your life or brought somebody into you or took somebody away from you, like that's all you need. Like you don't need to go to 1,000 shows to feel validated by your fandom. Just like if it feels good to you, do it. That's what it's all about.
That's right. That's right. And I love that. I love that it does so many different things for everyone. And that's, you know, that's art, right? Like that is the beautiful thing about art, which, you know, I think oftentimes people forget that music is art and it is up for interpretation until we have a sit down with the band and they go, okay, here's what I wanted for you.
Right.
You know, I'm open to that, but like it hasn't happened. And some songs, you know, they're more like, well, this is kind of what I was thinking when I read this song. But I think that they leave it open for us to interpret like the meaning or different takeaways. And we've all been able to do that. And so that's another conversation that I love to have with people, you know, like why does Gray Street mean so much to you? Because we all have like that story of why that song like freed us, you know, set us free. We broke free from whatever because a song gave us the idea, the courage, the validation that we could do it, right? That we could break free or what all the different songs. It's amazing what this music continues to do for so many people. And we're just so lucky to have it. And so again, who knows how long we have. So, you know, get it while you can. The music will always be there. Yeah, exactly. The music will always be something that we have. And that's the beauty of like living when we do is we just, you know, it's really easy to get to and we have all of these memories. So thank you for helping me just kind of paint yet again another picture of what this music has done for you. Of course, your journey is different than anyone else's, but I like how your separate journeys led you to each other. And now, like what Kelly said, your journey now is going to be completely different because it's going to be together. And so that's just a beautiful story. So absolutely. So guys, like last thing I want to talk about, of course, we got 2024 coming. I mean, it's like I leave in a week to fly to Tampa. I'm just so ready, but also like kind of guarded because I'm like, I don't want it to be over, right? Like it's like that Christmas thing, where you're like, yeah, I can't wait. But then also you get sad because it's over. So it's like that relationship I have with the time. What does your 2024 look like?
So we're doing the Florida swing. We're doing all 5: Tampa, both West Palm, and then obviously both Jacks.
Yeah.
Home games.
Yeah,
I mean, it's amazing for them to be in your home state. Like there's just like, you know.
I'm going to head up to Deer Creek, and then he might do Alpharetta. We're not sure yet. Like, depends on timing and stuff like that. And then we're going to do the Gorge.
Awesome. I mean, that's going to be, now, was it this last year? Was 2023 was your first trip together to the Gorge? Is that what your story was?
Mm-hmm. Sure was. He had been there once before and I had not been. So it was our first time together there.
This will be even better. Oh, I'm so excited to watch how y'all's 2024 tour goes. And that's just another beautiful thing of social media is, if we're not at shows, we can watch other people's journeys and their experiences. And for the most part, fans are willing to share it all on, whether it's through the couch tour, whether they're streaming live or just sharing pictures of this is how their experiences was. And that's another, great thing about all the groups that are on Facebook and, different social medias. You can really kind of fine tune what it is that you see. If you really want to just see Florida content, okay, there's the Florida groups. If you really want to see Gorge content, okay, well, there's those groups. And so you really can kind of pick what you want to see and how much you see it. I don't know about y'all's social media, but like I've kind of paved a road to where everything I see on social media is Dave Matthews Band related. Wow. So this is all I see, man. And I dig it. I love it. It gets me ready. It gets me pumped up. It gives me validation that I'm not the only one because I, for some reason, need that. Like, I don't know. but it's beautiful. And so I can't thank you guys enough for just taking some time out again, to share your journey. And guys, if you are listening to this on a podcast app, just know, again, you can watch this on YouTube under the Space Between Podcasts. I'm like, what is the name of this podcast, guys? What is the name? It's very easy. It's so easy. Like, again, I named this podcast the Space Between Podcasts, but not because of the song, but it definitely works for like marketing purposes. I'm like, hey, that song? Boom, that's what it's called. You can't forget it, right? So I look forward to seeing you guys in like a week. We're all gonna be together again. So this is exciting. It's an exciting time. Yes. It's gonna be crazy. I'm so ready, guys. So in the meantime, guys, look on all the social medias. Of course, this the Space Between Podcast is on everything, and I'm gonna be doing some traveling this year, and I'm hosting a couple of parties, so definitely check that out. Night zero parties, our day of parties are definitely a way to get connected with other fans that love this band. But in the meantime, guys, stay tuned. Every week I have a different guest or guests on the show to share their experience with this band that's been giving us music for over 30 years. So in the meantime, though, guys, peace, love, and Dave Matthews Band. Thank you so much, Aaron and Kelly.
Bye.
Thanks for